Alright, buckle up, because what you're about to hear is no ordinary housing debate. On one side, a parliamentary committee demanding answers about 150,000 children trapped in temporary accommodation. On the other, government ministers promising 300,000 affordable homes over a decade, yet dodging the question of how many will actually be built in this parliament. The tension, palpable. The stakes, sky high. Watch closely because as the pressure mounts, contradictions start to surface, and the answers given here could impact millions of families across the country.
Thank you, Chair. In the context of, we know there are over 150,000 children currently living in temporary accommodation in this country. We obviously welcome the ambition to deliver 300,000 affordable homes over the next 10 years, but for the families who are currently waiting for that to be delivered tomorrow, how many of these do you expect to deliver during this Parliament?
It's a reasonable question. I think again, there are nuances, there's complexities, these things. I think it's important to, when it comes to grant funding affordable homes, to be clear on two things. And I'm not sure this is always apparent to honourable members in terms of how these things work, but there's a sort of an intuitive sense that these affordable homes programmes run discreetly. And in practice, they overlap. So the 2021 to 26 affordable homes programme will run down over the course of this Parliament as our new 39 billion 10-year social and affordable homes programme ramps up. So we will see ongoing delivery. I just think it's an important point from the 21 to 26 programme throughout this Parliament. Accurately forecasting long-term delivery is inherently challenging, particularly on a 10-year programme such as the one we brought forward at the spending review. Our best estimate, as included in the written ministerial statement I issued, is that 39 billion could deliver around 300,000 social and affordable homes over its lifetime, with about 180,000 for social rent in particular. We've given a renewed focus to social rent underneath that affordable umbrella. In terms of what the new programme will deliver in this Parliament, I'm not in a position to provide you with an accurate estimate at this stage, not least because, and again this speaks to how the programme will function, RPs are in the process of revisiting their business cases, as I said, in light of the spending review. They will be looking to submit bids into that new programme when it goes live and we publish the prospectus. And that it is those bids that come forward and the individual grant rates that are handed out that will determine the ultimate number. So I think we're not in a position today to say definitely we will deliver X number of social and affordable homes in this Parliament through the programme, and there's the tail end of the other programme. I think the one thing I would say, because I do want to give the committee clarity on this issue as soon as we possibly can, we made clear in the document we published on the 2nd of July, delivering a decade of renewal for social and affordable housing, that we intend to work quite intensively with housing associations, councils and other providers in the coming months to agree a joint ambition in terms of what registered providers can bring forward in terms of social and affordable homes right across the country. But that will be both in terms of grant-funded social homes and homes that come through the developer contribution system. But I hope at that point, with the sector, we're able to give the committee a much clearer view of our ambition for this Parliament when it comes to total numbers, but in partnership with the sector. And we do need to work in partnership with the sector, and as I've said, off the back of the spending review, which was received incredibly positively by the sector, we are seeing a renewed appetite to take up Section 106 homes and to look again at delivery pipelines, because we have now given them, through that regulatory certainty, through consultation on rent convergence, through the grant funding, everything they need, I would argue, to be able to look again at their pipelines and seek to maximise the number of affordable homes that they can bring forward, both in this Parliament but then going forward across that 10-year programme.
So can you sort of clarify by when you think you will be able to give us that greater reassurance or greater clarity around the numbers you do expect to deliver within this Parliament, when that work will be done, so that when you come back to us we can revisit this? And secondly, could you at least give some sense of how much of the 39 billion will be available and being spent in the year ahead, in 2 years ahead, within, again, the terms of this Parliament?
Do you want to, specifically on our engagement with the sector in terms of coming forward with a joint vision for numbers?
So first of all, worth setting out the timetable that the Minister referred to. So we hope to publish a prospectus for the new programme this autumn and open it up to bids sort of we say winter, but probably January, because it's not very fair to do that just before Christmas, for example. So we will then open a bidding window, and then we will know at the end, when that bidding window shuts, a bit more clearly exactly what bids are coming forward and what timescale for delivery we can expect for the new programme, and then we'll get a much clearer idea. So I'd say by the end of next year we will have a much clearer idea of what exactly it looks like across the piece, and coupled with, as Minister's just said, the work that we are doing with the providers to try and form a much clearer idea, not just of what they...
Let's pause right here, because this is the moment where the human cost cuts through the political jargon. 72 children have died due to unfit housing between... That's not just a statistic, that's 72 lives lost because basic standards like running water, mold-free walls and safe living conditions weren't met. Now, while the minister points to a 2035 deadline, the question practically screams itself. How many more lives will be lost while we wait for reforms? And here's where I want your take. Do you believe a 10-year delay is justified for bureaucratic lead-in time, or should immediate enforcement be non-negotiable?
Might bring forward through that grant programme that I just referred to, but also what they can deliver through Section 106 and the kind of building that they're anticipating taking forward in partnership with developers. We'll have a much clearer view then of what the pipeline is looking like.
And it does all depend on bids. The committee will know that the way the Affordable Homes Programme works is both on the basis of strategic partnerships, but then continuous market engagement. In terms of our 10-year new social and affordable housing programme, it may well be the case that we get bids through that strategic partnership route for 10-year delivery pipelines.
Yes, we will.
Then we'd have much more certainty. But there'll be an element of which bids are coming in under continuous market engagement. So it does depend on what comes in after we publish the prospectus and the new scheme is operating, what registered providers themselves are saying is their appetite, but we're getting very positive signs in that regard. In terms of the sort of spend this year and next year, I think you said, but the 2021-26 programme averages about £2.3 billion of grant funding capital per year. The spending review policy paper that was issued at that point in time makes clear that our 10-year programme will reach £4 billion per year in 2029-30 and will rise in line with inflation subsequently. So such that the government spending on affordable housing will have almost doubled by the end of this Parliament. Government doesn't usually, Mr Dillon may challenge me on we should do things differently, but government, for good reason, doesn't usually publish year by year spend on specific programmes in advance before those bids have come in, for example. But we will continue to publish past expenditure figures in the department's annual reports and accounts, so the committee will have full transparency as to how much is being spent each year after we know what bids have come in.
And thank you. I mean, moving forward now onto the Decent Homes Standard and the work going on there, it's been made public that this might not be enforceable until 2035 or 2037. We have had 72 children die due to their living conditions between 2019 and 2024. So why would there be this delay, and why are we not pushing as quickly as possible to make every landlord responsible for making sure that the homes that the families are living in this country while they await the progress of this building programme are fit for human habitation?
I think it's important to say as a point of principle, alongside our commitment to delivering the biggest increase in social and affordable house building in a generation, we're absolutely committed to driving a transformational change in the safety and quality of housing. I think the action that we've taken today attests to that. When it comes to the consultation that we've recently released, one on MEES as well, but an updated and modernised Decent Home Standard, which will include a new damp and mould standard, you're right that we sought views on an implementation date of 2035-2037. That is not particularly unusual, I'd add, just to draw the committee's attention to the Decent Homes programme undertaken by the last Labour government, which had a 10-year implementation timeline. The sector does need time to respond to that. But in terms of your challenge on what are we doing for people potentially living with acute hazards, we have taken urgent action, particularly in terms of damp and mould, in both sectors, social rented sector and the private rented sector, by introducing AWAB's law, for which we laid the regulations on the 25th of June. And subject to parliamentary scrutiny, that first phase of Arab's Law will come into force in October, and that will require landlords to address significant damp and mould hazards and emergency hazards within fixed periods. So we're taking very short-term action, but I think it's entirely right and proper that we give the sector time to implement, as we did with the Decent Homes programme under the last Labour government, which had hugely positive effects. There's no way you could ask for an updated standard to be implemented within, say, a year. We do need a lead-in time to bring those standards, but we're taking urgent action through Arab's Law, through the regulator, to improve standards in the short term.
Perhaps not within a year, but to be waiting 10 years seems extreme given the money that is being made in this sector and the responsibility every single landlord should have to provide a home with running water, free from damp and mould, and not free from rat infestations. So surely there could be greater urgency than 2035.
I'd simply sort of reinforce, perhaps you take issue with this, I think we have acted urgently by laying regulations on Arab's Law, which, as I've said, will require landlords to address hazards, including damp and mould.
You'll be aware that emails we all receive.
I receive them too, Chair.
You receive them as well, Minister. That's not the situation on the ground for many tenants.
What's not the situation?
In terms of the regulations.
They haven't come into force yet,
They
Chair.
haven't come, and even when they do come into force, local authorities are telling us they do not feel well resourced to be able to carry out those inspections. Do you feel that we'll have a situation in October where essentially private residents will feel that local authorities are going to be able to come in to inspect these, and local authorities in turn are going to come back to the government to say we cannot keep up with these inspections?
The whole point of Arab's Law, Chair, is that if landlords don't meet these requirements, residents will be able to hold them to account by taking legal action through the courts. It imposes a very, very hard fixed time period for responses to hazards like damp and mould. This is a significant intervention. We've laid the regs, they're not in force.
The courts are going to be able to deal with those
we do feel it's precisely
that are going to come forward.
Precisely why we've taken a sequenced approach to implementing Arab's Law, to ensure that the sector can manage it, and that, for example, responding to Arab's Law cases doesn't completely consume the repairs and maintenance departments of all local authorities, for example. We are confident the sector can implement this properly. It is a significant change that will deal with hazards like damp and mould, will improve quality and safety. And then at the same time as we've got that emergency measure in place, we're going to raise standards across the board through an upgraded and modernised Decent Home Standard, on the timelines of, as I said, the previous Labour government's Decent Homes programme. And I don't think anyone at that point in time would have been saying, I think you should need to get on with it and do it in 2
Minister,
years.
We now have a situation where we have almost 2 million people on the housing waiting list. We're seeing local authorities spend 2.29 billion. I don't need to read these figures to you. The situation is getting dire on a daily basis. We cannot compare it to 10 years ago when the last Labour government were in. We keep saying we're in a housing crisis, there are issues within temporary accommodation, and unless we do things differently, Minister,
we are doing things differently.
We're going to keep spending money as a sticking tape on this, and that's what we're trying to.
And we are doing things
to
differently, Chair. I think I've evidenced that we are doing things differently.
So here's where we land. After all the back and forth, the government insists it's doing things differently, pointing to long-term funding, new standards, and emergency laws like AWABs to tackle mold and hazards. But critics say the timelines are simply too slow for a housing crisis already costing lives and billions in temporary fixes. At its heart, this case raises the question, is government policy keeping pace with the urgency on the ground? Or is it yet another promise that leaves families waiting? If you found this breakdown as shocking as we did, make sure to hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more jaw-dropping courtroom breakdowns.